See. Are you gonna work? Are you gonna work, YouTube, so I can get to a different screen? Ooh, ooh, we're working. Maybe. Hello? Okay. Let me adjust some things here for my convenience. Well, I can't because I can't. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine as everything should be. Okay. Cool. Hello. Yes. I guess I need to put a thing out for this and let people know I'm here and that I would be a good idea. Da, 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 da. Where am I looking? I just zoned out while I was doing a thing. Okay, that's fine, brain. Do that. Monica, you don't play that ad. Don't do that. I want to take the link and I want to put it on Twitter, right? We're doing it. Am I muted? What? Wait, how am I muted? It says my audio is coming through. Am I muted? Ah, fucking. Why? Why am I muted? It says my audio is coming through fine. Oh, you hear me? Okay, okay. All right, I was weirded out. OBS said my voice was coming through. Okay. We're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's perfectly fine. Don't you see how fine this is? Putting this here, and we're going to tell everyone talking about D&D, I suppose. Join me. Yes. Perfect. I'm a genius. I'm amazing. I don't know what I'm saying. I could advertise to Discord. Emphasis on I could. But will I? I'm lazy. So the answer is no. Twitter it is. Twitter is fine. Who needs anything else when you have Twitter? I guess. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I don't want to, I'm too lazy to go get my, my Discord and put a link there. So that's fine. Anyway, hi. Now with all that out of the way, I have a face. I know YouTube has not seen this face. Well, they have seen my face. I've put videos of my face on YouTube before, but that's a long time ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if people just straight up didn't remember it. So yeah, I have a face. I do not look very attractive right now. I just took a shower, so my hair is still damp. Not just took a shower, it was actually a few hours ago. That's not the point. The point is I'm just doing this on a whim, like I do most things. So y'all get to put up with it. So, um, yes. Oh, hello, Sky. Yes. Very nice to see you, even for a brief moment. I don't know what's going on in life. Here I am. Anyway, so I don't know why I want to do this. I had this like, okay, just picture this, right? I had this epiphany out of nowhere where I was like, oh shit, I know a way where I can just stream my face to YouTube and talk. Weird. And here I am doing it because I want to talk about D&D, but I don't know how to start conversations, and just so you're all here. And so you are my captive audience, so I can talk about D&D because I'm obsessed. And because I'm obsessed, you all get to deal with me. Right? Yes. Also, hi. Normally my hair is not this long. I suppose where I'm just setting all of this up right now, just letting people roll in. Um but yeah, my hair is normally not this long. I know it's been a very long time since I made a video, so I'm sorry for that. Uh, but we but I have been growing my hair out, so if you're wondering why, like, Morgan, you've always drawn yourself with short hair. I know. It's because this has been growing out for a year now. So I have long, luscious locks right now. Anyway, yeah. So yes, Sky, I had plans to. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. So enough of me being rambly and whatever. Again, this is very much on a whim, so I don't expect anyone to really, this is just me chatting. That's all it is. Um and by the way, I see you there. You could just leave. It's actually extremely cringy of you that you're here watching something that's making you cringe, so you're free to leave. Anyway, so uh yeah. So essentially all I'm going to say is that um y'all are free to ask me questions about D&D and things like that. We're just here to talk about D&D because I just want to talk about D&D. Um and in general, I am just here to have a chill time and just relax and vibe with all y'all. And if but to start out though, just no questions are required, but please do ask me questions because sometimes I don't know what to talk about. So um, we tell about the not warlock rogue. Yeah. So I might talk about some D&D stories and things like that. Again, I'm so sorry I'm scatterbrained. I'm just like this is so unplanned. Uh so my brain is all over the place, but it's fine. We're gonna have some fun. Um, so yeah. So for context, though, again, I know I haven't been here in a long time, but I do have content that's coming. Who would have thought? I'm not actually dead. Amazing. But uh, yeah. Also, I just also want you to know part of the reason I'm so like awkward right now is I'm so not used to doing stuff like this. I've wanted to actually stream my face for a while. I just didn't really have a way to. Uh, but it's just this is a weird thing as I've gotten used to streaming to like my friends and them seeing my face, but like doing it myself and having to manage all this is a bit new to me. So I'm a little I'm catching up as I go. But yeah, so I have some stuff planned. I'm actually going to set up a premiere for it soon because the first episode is going up this Tuesday. It's going up this Tuesday at 3:30 Central. Do I have to, Morgan? Do you have to go check because you forgot? Morgan has to go check because he forgot. Why do I do this to myself? Where is it? Where is YouTube? Tell me. Oh, listen, buddy. I don't know why I would forget the time. I literally did this. I did this the other way. I scheduled 4 videos at the exact same time, weeks apart, and I'm a fool. It's fine, but they're going up at no, not 3:30. It's going up at 3 p.m. Central Time. That's what it means. So yes. So first episode is going up this Tuesday at 3 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. On May the 4th. So look out for that. But it's because I've recorded some D&D sessions with my friends that I have now edited and going to upload to YouTube. I did not stream them because I'm not quite ready to dive into managing a stream while also playing D&D and being the DM. So we're not doing that yet, but I am recording them, making funny edits, cutting out some stuff, and then uploading them to YouTube to see how that goes with me because I really enjoy D&D and I haven't felt motivated to make any of the content people used to like off of this channel. So I figured channel's already dead. The views I got on whatever few videos I've made in the past year not been great. So it's time for a full 180 off to something else and here I go. So I hope you enjoy them though, but they're actual like D&D campaigns and everything like that. It's about a bunch of players in a spooky haunted house. It's a bit of like a mini campaign. It's like it's not a one shot. I wrote it to be a one shot, but I'm bad at writing one shots, so you can't actually beat it in a session. It has to be more like 8 sessions. So, it's all in one place, and it's like a mix between a campaign and a one shot. It's a mini campaign. That's what it is. That's the word for it. I don't know what I'm talking about. Hello, I'm not smart, if you haven't noticed. Um, yeah, sorry. I hope you all will enjoy that though, and enjoy my friends goofing around and my friends almost killing each other before they fought in the first encounter. PvP was enabled, and it was probably the worst thing I could have told them, but also the best thing for content, but also the worst thing I could have told my friends was that they could punch each other. Because, oh boy, they do indeed punch each other a lot. To as in, like, I was worried someone was going to get below half health before they even fought the first thing that they have to fight, and I was just, it was it's fun. It's extremely fun. I think we've recorded Oh gosh, I think we've recorded 7 sessions? I can actually look. Let me look. I have them all, like, organized together, which is big for me. I don't normally No, okay, we've done 6 sessions so far, and the episode's going up this month. There's 4 that I have scheduled because they're completely done and edited. I'm working on the 5th right now. But the first 4 episodes are, the first 3 are all from campaign 1, and then the last one is the start of, like, the first half of campaign 2. It's where they had their first fight, which is super exciting. That game was very long, so that's why 5 and 6 are taking a little bit longer to get edited. But hopefully a month will be enough time to at least edit one of them. But yeah, if you can't tell from the chat, both Letters of Sky and my beautiful friend Chinema are in that game. So it'll be a very fun time, and I hope you all enjoy it when it does go up. Because I did put a lot of work into it, and hopefully if it doesn't do completely trash, I might do more. So that's what I'm hoping on. But it's regardless, it was extremely fun to record, and it's actually been more fun editing those than most of my normal videos. So I'm a little hopeful for the future. I don't know why I clicked on that tab. I didn't want to click on that tab. Morgan, why did you click on that tab? Anyway, questions are welcome. As I was saying, we can talk about D&D and all that stuff. Well, that's going to go up. I have a session I can share stories about and talk about. I can have my own adventures and pet peeves and glories of D&D and all that kind of stuff, or just tabletop role play. It's also fine to talk about other tabletop role plays. I just unfortunately know D&D the best, so that's the only reason why that's in the title. Anyway, I'm going to scroll up because I know there was somebody who said something before. Exciting stuff. Can't wait to see the videos. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very excited about it. Any advice for new DMs that don't actually know all the players, like personally? Ooh, that's a very interesting question to start off with. Yes. So yes, thank you, Kiwi Nevreen. I can't, by the way, my glasses aren't on, so if you ever see me like disappear doing this, it's because I'm reading the chat and I have to squint. Because it's too tiny and too far away. But yes, I can try. So yeah, great for you to ask that question. I do tend to, just a little context on me so you know where this advice is coming from, and just you can take my advice with a grain of salt because I am by no means a professional here. I have been playing D&D for about I want to say like a year now, like a little over a year now. I've been playing D&D and I've been obsessed with it. I actually got super crushed because I started playing D&D when I could play in person with people, and it got for a while I just had to cold hard stop because quarantine happened, which was horrible for me emotionally. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I might have actually, it's probably been, no, it's been about a year. It's been over a year at this point. Uh, but because of that, I'd stopped playing for a little while, and now I've been playing games almost exclusively online, save for like occasional very safe one shots with my friends, where there's only a few of us and we're pretty safe about everything. But most of them have been online, and I do DM primarily about like 60 to 70 of the percent of games I've played so far. Am I back? Please. Why? Why did this have to happen? Am I back? Hello? Am I alive? Okay, all right, thank you. Sorry, my internet was having a stroke apparently. Apologies. I don't know if anything I said cut out or not. Uh, but I will just repeat a little bit of what I said in case of it. So, now I will say from my own experiences, both good and bad, if you are a new DM, if possible, I would recommend like don't play with strangers if you're just starting out being a DM. I understand that's not possible, so I still try to give you the best advice I can when you play with like new people and things like that. Um, but if possible, try to make it friends because at least you kind of know those people a little bit better. Um, and also, like, if possible, try and DM with like new players as well, so you can all fail at the game together. Because trust me, it's way more fun to all fail together than to play with experienced players who know what they're doing more than the DM does. Uh, Not that it's impossible, it's just like for your own stress, it is far less stressful to play uh, with people who are like just as experienced as you when you're starting DMing because it's at least when you fail most people don't notice and you can all kind of learn together and learn as you go because at the end of the day D&D is about having fun, it's not about playing correctly. um they're friends of friends, yeah, that's what I would assume, but for that case, if you cannot play exclusively with people you know and you have to play with strangers, uh my advice to you is that the best thing I can tell you, just, and this is coming very heavily from like this is shit I would point at myself and say, um the number one thing I can tell you is you need to be like in authority. Don't, like, you need to be willing to put your foot down and be mean. Like when you're playing as a DM, you kind of need to be the parent in the situation. Not to say that like players are children, but like you kind of need to be the boss. Uh, and where a lot of DMs failed, especially like me in the past, um, was that they got a little bit too like people pleasy. Like they got a little bit too focused on like, oh, this player doesn't like me, or like I want to please everybody, to where like I would have players who walked all over me, or I would sacrifice my own enjoyment of something, or I would skimp over rules, or I would like uh go back, or I would get like insecure, instead of just like putting my foot down and saying like, you know what, no, you're, stop. And or even just kicking players out, because that's the most important thing. Is like I know that there are some situations where you can't just cold cut off a player, and especially like in cases where some of the worst are when it's like uh they're like popular amongst your friends, so if like you remove them, you remove like two other people from your table, like obviously those are different situations. But if you, but part of that too is not even just like kicking out players or scolding players, it's like being willing to like be assertive. um Being a passive DM, you will always meet failure. That is just the reality, because either you are going to have bad players who walk all over you, or you're going to run into a lot of things where it's more stressful for you than it needs to be. Because even though DMing is hard and DMing in nature is never easy, it should still be fun for you. Like if you're being the dungeon master of a game or a game master and you are bored out of your mind, or you are just nothing but stress and there's no fun to balance it out, it's not worth it anymore. And you shouldn't be running that game or with those people if that's what's happening. um but that's the best advice I could give you just as a general thing, and this is just kind of to anybody who wants to start DMing, like whether it's with friends or no, is like you just have to be willing to like say, like you have to be willing to say like, no, you can't do that. You have to be willing to say like, hey, this is what I want, whatever. Like you don't want to be too controlling about everything, but you need to be willing to say like, hey, you're being a problem, stop it. like, hey, you need to dial back on this. And there's ways to phrase it, of course, depending on the situation. But what I'm really just saying is that it's better if, especially if you're a bit more of an insecure person, if you're kind of naturally more passive, it's better to try really hard to be like assertive and then reel it back in as needed. If you were coming off a little bit too strong, it's easier to just pull back a little bit than it is to continuously try and push forward and be like less passive if you start out passive. If that makes any sense. I might have gotten to the degree where I don't make sense anymore. But um I mean, hopefully that helps at all. Because if it helps make any more sense, like I know a story I have that I won't go into like full detail over, but I had a time when I was a bit of a younger DM and uh I was playing with a few people who I didn't know or I hadn't really talked too much or that like especially just a few people that I'd never played with before at all. And a player lost a limb and it was set up that way. And now I was excited at first because I was like, this is perfect, both narratively and because this is my favorite room in the whole thing. And I love this. This is great. Like, amazing content, amazing. And that player went from like super jovial and whatever, like super chatty, super charismatic, to just completely silent for the rest of the game. The only time they would ever talk was when I would directly ask them something in combat or something like that. And it crushed me in the moment. I thought immediately, oh shit, I fucked up. I ruined it. I did it bad. I've ruined their fun. I'm a horrible DM, whatever. And I let them like heal the arm and fix the arm. And I shouldn't have. Because reflecting on that, and again, I'm not going to go into every little detail about it right now, but there is, I shouldn't have done that because I realized in retrospect that that player got what was coming to them and that they were being a little bit sour by doing that. And it wasn't me that killed the fun, it was them. That was how the room was played. The choices they made led to that. They weren't being careful, they weren't doing whatever. And now I'm much more fine and I've actually run that whole thing again and it went a lot better with different people. But looking back on that, I should have not let that character heal the arm. I got too panicked in the moment. I got too much like, oh no, I'm the bad guy, that instead of just like taking a break and letting it happen or just saying like, hey, this is how I wrote it. Like, it's not my fault that they were a dumbass. Like, I got too upset and I kind of was like, it was just sort of like, oh, like, can I heal the arm? Yeah, yeah, go ahead. And it was like, it was a bad choice on my part. I should have just let them lose their fucking arm and deal with it. But it is what it is, and you live and learn and you grow from that. And I do hope you have. I do wish you good luck as well as everybody else, Kiwi, on your session. I think it will go great. But if you need a little more advice, since I rambled about that too much, another thing is just like I said it before, but I'll say it again. D&D and all tabletop RPGs, they're about fun. Like, don't stress too much about like getting every rule exactly right. Don't stress about like, oh my god, I'm definitely not like just like, oh, I'm not doing this right or like whatever. It's about having fun. You can play D&D completely incorrectly, like on every front you can. And so long as everybody's having fun, that's what matters. The most fun I ever had in a game was when I did a one shot where we all sucked. We didn't get past the first encounter because A, we spent too much time role playing and talking about bullshit because we were way too into it and we having way too much fun. And two, we just sucked. We got like just decimated. And but it was the most fun I ever had in a fucking game. And we all were just laughing our asses off. So it's like that's really what it's about. And being the DM, you do have a lot of power to say that like you have the house rule. If you decide like in the moment you're just like, oh well, I don't like how that works. It doesn't matter if maybe you go back and you change your mind. Just in the moment say like, nah, I don't like how that is. So I'm gonna say that's what happens. You are God in this world. Now, I will tell you as a DM, it's always good to check in with your players and make sure they're having fun. Whether it is that you're just like insecure whether or not they're having fun, it's always good to just like pause for a second and say, "Hey, y'all enjoying this? Like, y'all good?" Usually the answer is probably going to be yes, but also it's good even if you're pretty confident if everybody's having a nice time. It also just doesn't hurt to ask anyway. Um, just check in with people, make sure they're enjoying themselves, make sure nobody's like wants to stop or like is getting too tired. Just always make sure that you're like checking in on people and just making sure that everyone's like just having enjoying themselves, because again at the end of the day the only goal you have is to make sure everybody has fun, including yourself. And so long as you accomplish that, it's amazing and it's all good and you've done it correctly. The only way you do D&D correctly is by having fun. So uh and there's going to be people out there who are going to get all snippy and super strict about the rules, and you know what you do, you just say, I don't want to play with you anymore, our play styles are too different, goodbye. But yeah, so I hope that helps a little bit. I think you'll do good, Kiwi, and I wish you luck on your adventure. I've just come onto the stream and Zodiac's just talking about an arm being ripped off. Okay, correction, it was not ripped off. Technically it was piercing damage, so it was sliced off. We'll just get that out of the way. Was not ripped, but yes, one loss would definitely be a possibility in the way I want to play this. I feel like it would also, I would have also felt horrible if it happens, but you're right. If they just, they may just have it coming. Yeah, it's all about like, and again, you live and you learn, you make mistakes. I've done shit as a DM where I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done that differently. You just, you learn, you grow. It's an art, not a talent. I don't know what that, don't quote me on that. That was not a good phrase. It's an art, not math. Okay, well, D&D is mostly math. I don't know what's coming out of my mouth. I'm sorry. It's an art. Period. Nothing else. There's no not of there. It's just D&D is art. Period. I don't know. Oh, that would be slashing. No, Chinema. I have the rules for it. I know what damage that monster dealt, and it was piercing damage. um, but no, yeah. So, I mean, listen. One time, our party ripped a goblin's bits off during using a horse. Interesting, quite interesting. Oh my god, I just if you're going to include limb loss, maybe at least talk with your players about the fact that it's a possible outcome. Definitely. Yeah, no, a case of axes is completely right. I'm sorry. I always assume that everybody like does session zeros and like discusses like games with their players before it happens and like checks with that kind of stuff. Yeah, most important thing, have a session zero. It does not matter how you have a session zero, even if it's just you sit there and you talk for 15 minutes about the game. Have a session zero of some kind because your players and you need to know what everybody wants to do or it's going to fail. There are so many like god, there are so many like D&D horror stories um that like the common trend is like this could have been solved with a session zero, and it's so fucking true because like I kid you not, guys, communication is so important in this stupid game. Like when you have, if you just have a session zero where everybody talks about like what they want, it helps like so much better. And you can't like plan for everything. Yes, that's true, but like for example, there's like I've seen so many here like stories about uh like people who are just like, oh, we had a game and like we were all role playing and all, but then one person just started killing everyone. We just hate that there's a murder hobo in our party, or like, oh, there's this person who just like refuses to do combat and blah 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 blah. And it's like, and it's so frustrating because you can just tell that like in stories like that most of the time they never had a session zero. Like it's so frustrating because like, and sometimes it happens, sometimes there's players who are like, oh yeah, I totally like role play, and then you get to the game and like your definitions of role play are slightly different. Like that's a different story. But what is the problem is like when people say that like, oh, we don't know why like this person isn't role playing with us, even though we try to get them to role play. And it's like, it's probably because you didn't talk about this beforehand and they were assuming you're playing combat D&D and you wanted to play role play D&D. So it's not their fault that nobody talked to them about what they wanted, you know? Um, so it's like just different situation, just like for everybody out there, please just talk to your players for a hot minute before you like run your game. That's all I'll say. I'll end it there. Hi, Mitchie. I'm dying. How are you doing? I'm losing my mind, is what's happening because I can't talk at all. And this is what I get for just planning this with no preparation, but it's fine. I'm a player and I think our whole party is far too chaotic to discuss anything. Well, that I'm assuming you mean that slightly in jest, because you're just like, oh, all our characters are really chaotic. But if your actual party is like having issues and you can't discuss it, that is a problem. So like that's the I mean I'm gonna assume it's the former. But yeah, anyway, if anyone wants to ask questions, they can ask questions, and if nobody want to ask questions, then yeah, I'll just talk about bullshit and I'll talk about stories about a campaign that's not being recorded, and I'm so sad I never recorded it because it's probably the only one I can talk about because it's not being recorded. But it's fine. Don't worry about a thing. Um Rogue, yes. Chinamo just wants me to talk about Belladonna. Which I don't blame her. She's very fun. Um yes, I mean the babysitters. Of course I do. I think I read that before it popped up on screen. Oops, but that's fine. Not my fault that the chat goes faster on my iPad than it does on my computer screen. That's not my fault. That's YouTube's fault. God, I don't look nice. I do not look flattering right now, but you know what? Y'all just get to deal with it. Listen, nobody said I was pretty when I did these videos. I never tried to pretend I was pretty. Anyway, uh, I just did a really cool homebrew race. Have you made slash used any homebrew stuff? I have a little bit. At the moment, I'm at a point where it's like I kind of like this is just me. When it comes to actual like races and classes, I tend to use like mostly just the rule book stuff, not like just basic rules, not that basic, but like just more of the official kind of content. uh Not because I have anything against homebrew, it's only because for me I like the challenge of like I'm gonna come up with something like creative using stuff that's already set up for me. Like I personally like that challenge. um but I have used like homebrew items, especially I make those all the time because I sometimes get too lazy to look through official stuff, so I tend to just make up my own items that I give my players. But besides that, I do use a lot of like homebrew items and things like that, and I do have a lot of friends who like almost always use like homebrew races, especially. And I have once given a player of mine a homebrew class before, a subclass. Um that was in the I have a campaign where I have a player became a sorcerer and I was trying to decide which kind of sorcerer they wanted to be. So I was like, you know, it would fit perfectly if we made you a star touched sorcerer, which was like a cool homebrew one. Um so I've used them a little bit, but I just only tend to dabble in it. I don't tend to be real dive right in. Um, have you only ever played 5e or older versions too? I've not played any of the older versions, and from what I know, I don't think I would be very interested in them. I like From what I know, a lot of the older versions tend to be a lot stricter with the rules and tend to be much more like, you know, much more thick in their rule books, um, which is fine. And I know that there's actually elements from older editions that like have cool like rules that you can kind of modify or back into 5e and stuff like that. But I think that even if I, not that I'm opposed to trying them, but I think from what I know of those, I think I would still prefer 5e because I kind of like the creative openness that 5e has. It's a little bit more, it seems that it's more like role play centric than some of the previous the older stuff is. And I also like how beginner friendly it is because I do tend to play with a lot of people who've never played D&D before. Um, so that's always very helpful for me. Um, my party, or wait, I mean, if you give your players homebrew items, they don't need to know that it's homebrew. Oh no, that's true. I rarely tell them it's homebrew. um, my party is my high elf bard, my dark elf, my dark elf slash drav druid, a skeleton dragonborn, and the drow tore off the skeleton's arm and they threw it at townsfolk. Started laughing, so I started dancing for gold. Cool. Like I'm just imagining my party trying to find the item online, but they'll never because I never tell them that it's homebrew. I watch them suffer not knowing knowing its full extents until I need to know. Um, my pronouns are he him. Thank you for asking. But yeah, I might have said that too fast. I apologize. My brain was like just on autopilot. Yeah, my pronouns are he him. Thank you for asking. I'm sorry if I said that too fast. But yeah, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something, but I like put a pin in my brain, and now I've completely forgotten. Um, uh, but yeah, so I'm like, gosh, I have a game where 3 out of the 5 of my players, my babysitters one. Because I'm probably gonna mention the babysitters one like way too much. Let me give some context for that. So I'm like currently, so like right now, I'm in 3 games, like 3 running games at the moment. Yeah. Yes. 2 of which I DM, and then 1 that I'm actually a player. I actually have more time, and I would like to be a player more. But I haven't. I don't think anyone I know is currently running games right now. So currently, I sit and I wait patiently for my time to be feral and make characters again because I'm just obsessed with it. I have like, I know myself well enough to know it's like I have so much energy to where I could totally still play a game right now, like another game. But I do not have the energy to DM another game right now. So alas, I must wait until somebody else makes a game, um, which is easier said than done. But yeah, so the game I'm talking about though is that I have the one that I'm recording. That's gonna go up on YouTube this Tuesday. I have one that I'm playing in that Mitchie actually streams. Twisted Disaster streams on her Twitch channel every other Saturday. Um, and then I have one that is called I call the babysitters or the warlocks, or a warlock's oath. My official name for it is a warlock's oath, but the our nickname for it is the babysitters. And that's because the plot of a warlock's oath is so simple. It is you have 5 warlocks. Oh, 5 beautiful warlocks, all with the same patron goddess, who gives them their powers. They're all archfey warlocks. And one day she summons them together for a very special mission. A very a very special mission that she only entrusts the 5 of them to do it. Many of them have died. Many previous warlocks have died doing it. 1 wasn't enough. 2 wasn't enough. Surely 5 must be enough. So we, so that she summons them together for a special mission to babysit her son, who is an absolute little shit. So it's it is a very fun game that I have going on right now. I'm so sad I never started recording it, but now at this point we're on like session 10 or 11, and I can't. I don't have time to change it. Well, yeah, it is. No, y'all don't know because it's in my notes. Like it's literally in my notes somewhere. Like just that's just what I call it in my notes. It's what the original idea was called when I wrote it down. Um, but I just named the group the babysitters because I'm a meme lord. But yeah, we just finished 10. Yeah, so we are about 10 sessions, which is amazing for me because I've never had a game that's gone on that long and it's amazing. But like uh it's very cool. So our cast of characters though is we have it's so delightful. So we have my roommate who's playing uh, a canine. By the way, all of them are multi-classing at this point. So we have like my roommate who's playing a canine paladin warlock, who is a canine is like a homebrew race where it's like they're a dog person. essentially. So she's like, and her whole thing is that she had a husband who died in the war, and now she's raising her pups, and she became a warlock because she's like, "Hey, Della Rosa, our lovely goddess of the Feywilds, can you give me a home for my children? And in exchange, I'll work for you." And she's like, "Sure." Boop, you are a warlock now. Um, so, uh, but then we had so we have her, that's Aspen, teen mom, hurrah. But we have Mitchie, who's talking a lot in chat right now, plays Arquin, who is a tiefling bardlock, who Della Rosa offered to let her stay in the Feywilds in exchange for sing songs about me because I'm just so beautiful and so amazing. Harquin is a disaster who's on the run from her abusive, controlling mother, and who is currently in a weird, it's complicated relationship with a hot cowboy elf who, um, who she accidentally seduced while drunk. But that's besides the point. That's a whole other story. Um, Also, he's a himbo. He wasn't supposed to be a himbo, but somehow my NBC turned into a himbo, so he's a himbo cowboy. But yeah, so then uh we have Chinema, we have her character who's Belladonna, who is a rogue warlock who's a halfling, and she had a best friend who died, and Belladonna went crazy for a couple years. And Della Rosa was like, "I like you. I'm gonna make you a warlock now." And gave her powers, and she's on a quest to go find her missing friendship bracelet that was stolen from her friend after she died, which is also the Philosopher's Stone, because I had too much. My players gave me too much room to have fun, so I had fun. Giving them a bunch of bullshit. It's my creative sandbox. But like, Belladonna is interesting because in the last game we did, she kind of pissed the goddess off. So right now, the rogue warlock is no longer a warlock. Hate it when that happens. So right now she is only a rogue, which is a real bummer. But yeah, so she's the chaotic evil of the party, which is fun. Then we have Severin, who's played by one of my friends from school, who is hey, oh, I'm gonna butcher it again. I apologize. I'm gonna butcher it. A Marune or a Marine. Essentially, they're like a deep forest fae. Like, when I said I had school friends who like playing some of the most homebrewy races, this is what I mean. But like deep forest fae, and essentially he is a simp. He simps for the goddess. That's not in canon, but he's a simp. And he's a ranger warlock who recently got a cool looking mace that he's gonna swing at people. He can be slightly bloodthirsty, as we found out throughout the campaign. But yeah, so he's a fun. Um, then we have there's like no, there's only one more, and then finally we have lovely Paris. So Paris is an Aetherborn, which I found out was from Magic the Gathering, I think, but I did not know that originally. Who is a essentially they are made from Aether, and they usually only live like a couple years. Uh, so Del Rosa was like, "Yo, I'll give you like enough essence to feed off of, so you don't die. You just gotta come live in my woods with me." And be my guard, yeah. So that's how Paris got there. And Paris is just a sweet summer child, just completely oblivious to everything, clueless to the world, and we love them. And Paris also has a floating ethereal galaxy-esque axolotl named Astro who follows them everywhere, which is very fun. And Astro's an asshole, and also all of Paris's magic goes through Astro, and that's fun. So Paris cannot do anything roleplay based for shit, but Paris is quite the tank in combat. They're a warlock sorcerer. They're the ones that they're a warlock, and because what happened, I was like, "Yo, buddy, my bro, Caleb, I don't know what to do with Paris here because it's like I don't know how to incorporate Aetherborn in my world. So do you mind if I modify like the actual lore that Aetherborn had? Like, do you mind if I do something weird? And he was just like, okay, sure. Like what? And I was like, okay, so I'm imagining since Aether is supposed to be space, what if Aetherborn just fell from the sky out of nowhere and they're just completely fully formed adults that like don't know what's happening? And so we agreed on that and it was really cool, and that's how the whole star touch sorcerer thing came in. So I was like, when Paris had the epiphany that like discovered where their origins came from, whoosh, magic, beautiful galaxy hair for flavor, you're now a sorcerer, Paris. Which has made Paris extremely powerful. But yeah, so that's the lovely gang. And then they have Rue, who's a little satyr shit, who's a wild magic sorcerer who just surges at the worst of times. Because I love sorcerers, especially wild magic sorcerers. But um, God, it's a very fun game, and we have so much like nonsense that we've done, and we've like gone to. I've had a whole Wonderland thing. It's like my Warlocks game is like absolutely my like creative sandbox, where I just like do almost anything. Like I've done so much wild stuff. Um, but it's been so fun. So I mean I could talk more about that if that's what people want to hear about, but otherwise if anybody has questions, I would love to answer them to the best of my ability. Because I just like talking about D&D and D, and I like talking about characters and games and everything like that. So, um, it's never a bad time for a wild magic sword. Only fun times for them. I mean, unless you cast fireball on yourself and everybody within a 5 foot radius, but other than that. But yes, God, I love playing sorcerers. I want to play. My default is just like when I do a magic caster as sorcerer. Meta magic is just so good. Like listen, I know warlocks and I know clerics get their all role play stuff with their gods and everything, but sorcerers are just so fun. It's like you just do the magic out of nowhere and it's just whoosh. Uh, but it's like I got so happy when like there was all those like sorcerer subclasses that finally got like official and weren't no longer like playtest content, because for a while it was like only draconic or wild magic sorcerer, and I'm like more I want more spicy sorcerers. And so I'm like, when they added like storm sorcerer and fucking clockwork soul and like apparent mind, I was like, more sorcerers that I can make. I actually have a storm sorcerer I want to use. His name is Rain, and he's a changeling, and I want to use him. But alas, I have no games. Nobody invites me to games because nobody I know runs games. Um, but that's fun. Uh, but yeah, so questions are welcome. Uh, I will talk about more stories if people would like just me to ramble on about stories. Um, of any kind, uh, we can party. And if I'm silent for a moment, I'm still here. I'm just checking some things. Da, 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 da. Story time. You just want to hear me reenact the stories of fucking Belladonna. I mean, listen, if I had to take all 10 sessions of the Warlocks game and try and like recite all of them from memory, we are going to have a time. It's going to be 5 hours later, and I'm still not. I'm going to forget things that I didn't remember. That's a dramatic exaggeration, but alas, I can do nothing but exaggerate. Um, yeah, that's one vote for story time from someone who's in the story, of course, but that's beside the point. Good question. What's all your like default classes? Like, what's your go-to class when you make characters? Personally, my default class is Warlock simply because I like to make fun dynamics. Oh yeah, I like the creativity you can get when you're coming up with like Warlock um patrons and everything like that. I think that's always fun. I've always found like having to deal with like having a god giving you powers or just some other being giving you powers seemed like fun to play with um and fuck around with. Like a warlock who just wants good dreams and all they need to give their patron is the rights to said dreams so they can never remember them, but at least they know their dreams will be safe. Aw, that's sad. Wild magic sorcerer with a few levels of rogue. Is that what fake Karen is gonna become, Trinima? That's not even no one even knows what that game is, but that's besides the point. I never played before, so I'd probably start with fighter. You can do some fun stuff with fighter. Um, I have seen people do it. But yeah, you can do some fun stuff with fighter. Right, I'm sorry. Faye Karen is a wizard. How could I forget it? Specifically the swashbuckler subclass of rogues because I love pirates. Oh gosh. I had an idea recently for a because I want to see more like because as much as I appreciate a classic edgy rogue, I also like I want to see people play more with like the less used versions of like rogue classes. So like I had the idea of a scout rogue who is like a goblin who like works for like, you know, big tough fighters and barbarians and stuff. But like this small goblin just wants to be a big cool hero someday. But alas, they are just a wee scout for now. Um I've got a friend who defaults are rogue and bard, and they told me that they accidentally just made Venti for another campaign. Damn, spicy. Always loved the sound of the drunken monk. Oh, please, I want to play a drunken master monk so badly. I want to. It sounds like it would be so fun, but I can't because I don't have games to try things. Played a dwarf monk my first time. I really loved the character, and by level 20, he could turn into a dragon. What? Super cool. I love that. I too wish I could turn into a dragon. So many of my problems would be solved if I could just turn into a dragon right now. I'm like, I love playing sorcerers. Like that's usually my go-to because I just enjoy them a lot. Um, but I do also like I've played a monk once and I do really like playing a monk. I'm not gonna lie. um, but like what other classes do I like? I mean, again, I haven't even been able to try all of them because um I don't get to play as much as I DM, so I don't get to try out a lot of the stuff I want to try. Um, but from what I have tried, I do love playing uh, a monk a lot. Um, I like playing a barbarian sometimes too, just because it's sometimes fun to not have to think about like complicated spell stuff, just to go. smack things many times, which monks also do, but monks also have ki to deal with, um, which can get a little tricky and like a little like mathy, and like, oh, I gotta put key points here and here and here and blah 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 blah. But oh gosh, I do like playing a cleric though. Sometimes I feel like clerics can be fun. They're pretty versatile. It feels like my first character I ever made was a cleric. Um, like just life cleric, super generic. But I also love him, so that's besides the point. Oh gosh, what other kind of characters have I made? What other classes do I? It's gonna be fun. I do like playing bards. I just sometimes get a little like antsy where I'm like, oh, I want to help. I know I'm a support class, but I want to help. um, but yeah, I'm so bad with like just almost always playing sorcerers. I have not only that, but like you can see it too in the way I make NPCs. So many NPCs I have are sorcerer related because I find the convenience of sorcerers having natural magic to be a great plot point for certain reasons. But oh, it's God. I wish I had more chances to experiment a little bit. But I will take what I can get for now. I still very much enjoy the one game I am playing in um at the moment. Minnie and Rue. Okay, well, all right. Minnie's a spoiler, first of all. Second of all, Minnie is not a sorcerer. Minnie is a wizard. Different story. But yeah. There's something they do to make a bard that multiclass into a druid, and there's circus clown with a monkey familiar. That's cute. Da, 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 da. As a DM for a party that rarely has a consistent healer, we've made an agreement that I can have one character in the party itself, mostly to be a healer for them. Oh my god, don't get me started on Murphy. Do I need to talk about Murphy? I may need to talk about Murphy. Okay, so my most favorite character that I've ever made, who will probably be my favorite character until I die. I will probably be like 50 years old, having been played D&D for like 30 years, and still love this character and still use him. He is my dedicated DNPC, which I say with a grain of salt because I know people think that's associate that with the bad kind, but I mean more just like he's my favorite NPC. And so here's a backstory. Ready? We when I was starting to play in school, because when I started playing D&D, I'm sorry that I don't know, my brain slowed down. Um, so like uh but yes, Mitchie, I saw you in the other chat. But like so when I started learning how to play D&D, it was because my school, my like college had a D&D club that we started. It ended up fizzling out and all that, but it was where I played for the first time, and then I played my and I also DM'd for the first time as well. It's where I actually started to learn how to like DM properly using like kind of framework, like just using a framework of a game that I didn't have to write, or a game that was already set up for me. Um but we had sorry, one second. Um but yeah, so I'm like when I was playing, by the way, Mitchie, I'm sorry if that came off as rude a little bit earlier. I was just like my train of thought is like a million miles and I'm like but yeah, so uh we um so anyway, sorry, brain slowing down, resetting here. So my school was setting up D&D. It was the first time I DM'd. So after a little while of doing it, I was told our teacher who ran it was telling us that like, okay, hey, DMs, you're allowed to make a character. Like at the time, it was like a level 3 war cleric. Um, And you can make them for if you ever have parties of like 3 people or less. If you don't at least have 4 people, you can just put your NPC in there, but like they can't help in puzzles. They can only help in combat to either fight things or heal people. Um, just so it helps balance things out. And I was like, cool, great. So now the issue with creating an NPC that can't help in puzzles but can help in combat is usually people default to like, I make a stoic, silent character who never speaks, which a lot of people did in my school, which is fine and great, and I love that. Me being me, I did not do that. In fact, I did the opposite of that. So birthed Murphy, my human war cleric, who was an old man who is not helpful at all with anything puzzles or anything practical. He only helps as being like a convenient, like, I'll heal the party or I'll fight things. Uh, Not because he is silent, not because he is like edgy and quiet and doesn't refuse to speak. No, no. It's because every time he is asked even the simplest of questions, it will send him on a long, drawn out rambling about a personal story from his past, about the adventures he's had that may or may not be true. We really can't tell because the amount of things he talks about just do not sound like it could happen in the range of a human lifespan. But he is my favorite character to use as a DM because I've used him in games past that as my party's too small, let me give an NPC. And my god, the bullshit I've done with this man. He's so fucking funny. And he's also a great test for my improv skills because I have to make sure that anytime a player asks me anything, I have to start rambling about nonsense. And I have to make sure it sounds like a story and it's not just blah 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 blah. And it's so like okay, just to tell a recent story about him. Um so I was playing a one shot with like 3 friends from school. Um we were doing a one shot I've played before, but I hadn't ran before. And he so I was like, okay, cool, it's fine. I'll give you guys an NPC so you'll be able to work with it. Now my friends knew who Murphy was, and so they were like, sure, let's do Murphy. Sounds great. And so they're doing this game, and there's this part of it's from the module like Snow Stalkers, if anyone knows that one. But like we were doing um a we were running that one, and there's this part at the very beginning where you have to cross this like icy river. Now the tricky thing is that Murphy is a cleric with heavy armor, and you have to make dex saves. So they're trying to get across, also dealing with this like bugbear that's like attacking them and stuff like that. And one of my players had this like genius idea to shoot like one of the monkeys that's on the cliffs that like kind of harass you, and not the bugbear, the owl bear. um and like cause a permanent distraction, which was super smart. And but what happened was that Murphy just kept failing his dex saves, and everyone else in the party just kept failing their dex saves. So at some point, he starts like floating down this like icy river towards a waterfall, and I was just like, oh god, because I was realizing like I can't keep letting them waste their time trying to deal with this um, when they have like other stuff to get to, and I don't want them to keep like having to be stuck here. And so I just told them like, okay, guys, out of character, like listen, let Murphy like it's fine if you want to let Murphy go. I promise you you're not going to go into like the rest of this without 4 people. I'll deal with it. It's fine. So they're like, sure. And so they all agreed, like, okay, we're letting him go. We're just gonna let him go over the waterfall. So it's like I just started role playing that like as Murphy's like floating back towards this waterfall and they all watch. He's just like, it's fine, I could instead. Hey, I will catch up to you in the next one. And he just like falls off the waterfall, which is super fucking funny. So like he the party keeps going like to the pass, and then as I get like to a part where they have to like chill for a second and like go settle down like and rest, like do a short rest, I describe as they approach or like as they wake up or something like that, as they finish their short rest, that they smell the smell of something delicious as Murphy reappears completely full health, just completely fine. And he's just like, yes, welcome, I'm back, I've returned with her and I brought snacks. He's my favorite NPC. I just absolutely love him. um he would not be good to play as an actual player in a campaign, but like, please, everybody, feel free to use Murphy for your shenanigans. All you have to do is play an old man who is possibly immortal and tells way too many stories, and you're good, and you have Murphy. Um, uh, uh, but he's so fucking good. But it's like I love him, and he's one of my favorite things I've ever created. Um, yeah, and there's another time I remember in like super old, God, me making an NPC sheet for Murphy for people to use public domain. Um, but it's like but yeah, so we had a yeah, I remember a long time ago when the first time I ever actually used him in a game, like there was a party who were fighting polar bears, and when they got there, at some point they asked him for help, and I kid you not, on my phone, I already had it pulled up because I was waiting to use it. I looked up the scientific name of a polar bear, and I just started diving into like random polar bear facts, and I was like, "Did you know?" Like I forget what they're called, but like the polar bear is it has translucent fur. It appears white, but it's actually translucent, and it's just like it's all just sort of bullshit like that. It's so funny. um, he's really good for like practicing just improv on the spot. Um, because he has to just keep going. And it's so funny because it's also so funny because it's so fun to see how long my players just let me go. You know, like how long until they say, okay, okay, all right, Murphy, all right, we're moving on. Like it's so funny because again, they'll just ask him like the simplest of questions, like, "What do you think, Murphy?" "Oh, well, you know, this does remind me of a time when I was traveling with a party of mine. We had this satyr fellow, or was it a tiefling? You know, I can't really tell. The shape of the horns can sometimes look quite similar to each other, so I don't always know off of the top of my. And also, like some tiefling have hooves and things like that, so it gets very confusing whether you're talking to a satyr or a tiefling. Even worse when you're talking to a tiefling satyr, which do exist out there. It's like it's just nonsense like that. And I can do it on command, which is probably the greatest talent that I have. But yes, um, feel free. Murphy is public domain. Everything he does is perfectly in canon, no matter what situation he's in, because again, he is possibly immortal. Um, so uh you can just put him in like any game, any setting, and it works because he's the time and space does not affect him. Thank you. I'm glad you all love Murphy. He's my favorite. I need to learn that speak that way for my characters. I think way too hard about what I say. Yeah, I will say I've had some practice because I used to take improv classes when I was younger, like in middle school, early high school. I used to take improv classes, and so that helped me a lot. I really love improv, and I love improv games and stuff like that. So I'm not the greatest at like improv and role play. I have my moments, but I think that's helped me a lot with practicing that kind of stuff. So to be honest, if anyone out there needs like practice with improv and things like that, play some improv games if you can, or like see if you can find an improv class or something. Ooh, a really good game. If anyone wants to practice like role play and practice like improv outside of D&D, there's a game I recently introduced some of my friends to called Spyfall. And in that game, you don't have to role play, but trust me, it's a million times more fun if you actually commit to role playing. So like, because Spyfall is it's about like some people are all in this place and they know where they are and they know what their roles are, but then there's a spy amongst them who don't actually know their location. So like you have to ask each other questions and try and be vague enough so the spy doesn't know where you are, uh but also be like not too vague so people think that you're the spy. It's a very fun game, and I'll pull up there's like a site that does. I saw Polygon play Skyfall. It seems really fun. Yeah, that's who I saw play it the first time, and I showed it to my friends. Um, it's very fun if anyone ever wants to play it with their friends, especially if you all just say like, "Yeah, let's all role play. We're gonna commit to the whole role play." The best rule you can do is just like be your role. Like if it says that you're on a train and you're the train conductor, be the train conductor. It's a really good way to practice like improv and stuff like that. When I played it with my friends, I had there was a thing we had like a hotel and I was a customer and I swear I got customer like twice already. So I played up this weird like role of where I'm just like I was had a suspicious bag and like I was like really paranoid about people searching my bag and it was really funny. Um I also had like, oh my god, we started just the weirdest inside joke. There was a time when I was the spy, and I was doomed immediately because my friends just created this weird narrative that just went completely off the rails. Because it was like we were at, I think they were at the embassy, and it started with something where, oh god, one of my friends was like, I think he was like a prisoner of some kind. I don't know. But essentially, what happened was that there was some running gag where everybody was like, "Our my friend Caleb was just like, Caleb's a dangerous criminal, and the like we're keeping him like hostage here, but also the Canadians want him." And it was like, we don't know why the Canadians wanted him. Oh, that's what he was. He was like a refugee, and it was like, so we were assuming he was from like Canada, and Canada was looking for him, and we're like, why does the Canadian government want Caleb? And it was just like it went so off the rails and I couldn't tell what the hell like location we were at. But then we kept like picking it up because then we got to like we changed to like a different location at some point. Um and the narrative just kept going. Like I think Caleb ended up becoming a bank robber. So we kept this narrative though that like uh he was just like a Canadian bank robber who was on the run and like robbing a bank. And it was god, it was so funny. I'm sorry, that was such a tangent. But it's a very fun game. It's a very fun game. And you should definitely play it with your friends if you want to play practice your improvisation skills. There's online versions so you can play with people online um for free. So if that makes it more tempting. But yeah, it's a good time. So, um, how long have I been streaming for? Uh, I've been streaming for about an hour now. It's not so bad. Apologies for bringing down the mood with this, but I just remembered some things one of our previous party members did that, looking back, was very biased towards and against certain players. Well, please do share a case of Axis. We were constantly nervous for what he would make next. Well, if you'd like to share, I'd be happy to read it. If not, that's also understandable. No problem if not. I will pause a moment if you would like to type it out or whatever you'd like to do. I'm trying to send it. If it's too long, you can break out into parts. I can still read it. remember. Gosh darn it. I'm gonna do censor. Why is my sensor on? That's such bullshit. The sensor shouldn't be on. This is an adult stream. Oh, I see. Okay. Um, like when they were the DM, they would favor me and not really give much to the two other party members, and he was a horrifying player because most of the characters were just murderers or assholes. I see. Um, yeah, that shit sucks. I've gotten like I've I've seen it before where DMs will like totally be favoring like certain friends or certain people or uh I've also seen like I've played before with people who were like really like made just really bad asshole characters. Like I hate it when people always tell people like, "Oh, don't play an asshole. Don't play a jerk character because they're bad." And it's like they're not inherently they can be done so well. And I'd like to hope most of the people when they say that they know that they just kind of don't tack on the like exceptioner part of it. But like there's totally people out there who just play asshole characters just for the sake of being an asshole. Like and because the difference I feel has always been that like when you play a character and you know they're an asshole, you know they're mean, you know they're being a jerk, why do you then not want them to lose, if that makes sense? Like, it's one thing when you play an asshole character and then somebody like gets a good like one up on them or like gives them good karma and like they're just like it's great for a story because you like seeing an asshole character kind of get what they deserve. But like but then they but then there's people who will play asshole characters who then get really upset because their character isn't winning or their character had something bad happen to them or they fight really hard to make sure their character doesn't have bad things happen to them. And that to me is the difference because at that point you might be projecting a little too much onto your asshole character. Yikes. But yeah, like so I know what you mean. Uh in another one shot, he completely focused on me and let me have three of my characters, and he had three of his characters when five other people had one. Yikes! Why would you? Why is that's weird? That's very weird. Um, I made one nice character out of spite because we begged him to not make another one of his evil characters, and made him the brother of one of his evil characters. But why? But why not just? Why would you play D&D and want to like not help the group win? Like that's my real question. We have one player who always likes to play as gods, which is fine, but they're also always so constantly OP and really into pointless destruction and not the fun. Why are they allowed to play gods? Who? What DM is letting them play gods? That's just that's kind of just always going to be unbalanced. We cut him out of the DM role 2 years ago and out of the group a few months ago due to some drama, so we no longer have to deal with that. Well, I'm glad for you. Uh, I've had to deal. I haven't had any like. I've had a couple like horror stories. They're not nearly as bad as like some other people's are, and I can't talk about some of them. At least not right. At least I don't really want to at the moment. Not on a stream, but like, um, I can talk about one I had where it was when I was first like learning to DM and all of that when I was doing it at school. Uh, this was kind of funny to me. This one's less of like a horror story, more that like I thought this was just like what the fuck, like the funny kind of what the fuck. But it's like so we had our stuff at school, and our the teacher who was running it was letting us write one shots for the next thing, because how our thing worked was that it was like it was all one shots, but it was all within the same like endless tower, so it was essentially you were like going up each level of the tower, um which is very cool. But we were getting to a floor, and he was like, okay, I need like 3 rooms, so does anyone want to write one shots? So me and 2 other people were like, sure, we can write one shots for this. So I ended up writing a room where it's like I like giving players different options for different endings they can get. I like having kind of a good, bad, best ending, sort of thing. So I wrote something like that where it's like you could either just kill everything and just move on, or you could find all the secrets and get like the best ending and get more rewards from it. Because I felt like that would be fun, and it would give people a little more like options to things. Because it's D&D. I like giving people options. And so I was writing that, and this other guy who was writing another room, we'll call him Dice because this is D&D. So Dice was like writing another room, and he was writing his, and we were talking about it, and he started telling me about how like, oh, I wrote my room so that when you try to play nice, it like punishes you for it. Because what he was saying was that he actually really hates it when you write a combat and everybody just tries to befriend everything, and like everybody and he doesn't really like that everybody just wants to like, oh, befriend the wolves, like no, fight the wolves. And like, well, that's not how I like to play, and I don't really like that's not how I like to run things. I don't have the same complaints. I also thought like, okay, cool, like you are in control here, so you're writing something that you like, and if you're going to write a room that punishes people, like good for you. Not my cup of tea, but sure. And but what was and I actually even brought up that like, oh, I thought it was really cool because I was like, I like that my room is like the I reward you for playing nice, and your room is the I reward you for playing mean. I like that our rooms were opposites of each other. And I thought at the time that Dice also agreed with that because he's just kind of like nodding like along. And I thought he also agreed that it was a cool contrast. And we were even talking about how like the person who's writing the third room like could do something in the middle where it's like a bit of both. Like you could either be completely evil or completely good, one of the two. Uh, so at the time, I thought like it was cool, and I thought we were like, I thought we both were on the same page about it. Like respecting each other's tastes in the game and how we wrote each other's rooms. Um, Skip to when we were running them the first time. We sat down. I had my table and I was running my room, and Dice's group got done before mine did. So they ended up like they packed up some of their stuff, but they came and kind of watched the tail end of my room. And so in my group, we got to a point where we were like they'd beaten the room, and they like not beaten the room. They were almost done with the room. They were on the final boss, is what I mean to say. And uh we got there and they were doing the thing. So most of the party was like, oh, yeah, we're going to get the good ending. See, we gave the crown to this monster, and now the monster's peaceful. Like, we did it. But one of the players were playing like a chaotic neutral, but it's chaotic evil. I'm sorry. How are you? There was nothing that character did that was anywhere near the good alignment, but that's a different discussion. Uh, but he was playing a very much a murder hobo character, who was like barbaric and like crazy and whatever, which was fine. I thought it made for some good drama because what ended up happening was that we um what happened was that it made for some interesting stuff because that character, the murder hobo, was like, no, I want a trophy, I want to kill the thing. So he tries to run at the monster to try and kill it again. Now in my notes I literally wrote down that once the monster was like peaceful, that it would not attack again. Like that was it. No, like even if you even killed the monster, it's not going to attack you again. But obviously they didn't know that. So the other players though jumped up and like one of them casted sleep on him and they managed to drag him out of the room and complete the stuff. I gave them their reward, which was better than like what it would have been if they actually killed the thing. And it was great. That player even told me later, like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." And I'm like, "No, no, it was fine. I thought it was all like, I thought it was all in character. I didn't think it was you frustrated with me out of character." However, this is where stuff gets spicy because all that ends good, whatever. And so I get a little excited and I like talking about some stuff like that I've written down and I like sharing it. So I ended up telling them, like, oh, it's a good thing that you didn't kill the monster, like the murder hobo didn't kill the monster because you got more rewards because you didn't kill the monster. And I shit you not, I said that. And Dice looked at me and said, "What? But you can't just like you have to give equal rewards." And I just looked at him. It's like you can't, that's unfair. You have to reward people equally no matter which one they do if you have multiple endings. And I just looked at him. And it took me a minute because that really threw me off in the moment. I was like, because I just was like, I thought, like, okay. But after a moment, I thought about it and I processed it. And I looked at him and I was like, hey, Dice, if I have to reward people for doing my nice room, for like killing everything in my nice room, you have to reward people for trying to be nice to your monsters. And he went silent. And that was the end of the discussion because he realized that he'd kind of fucked up. And and I felt so fucking proud because normally I don't think that fast coming up with comebacks to that kind of stuff. But like, um, and but it was so weird to me because I'm like, how the fuck do you literally tell me the like not even a couple hours ago? You look at me and say, yeah, my room is designed to punish players for being nice. But then look at me and say, well, no, you have to give them equal rewards for playing it two different ways. And I was like, I mean, obviously, for me, it's like, it's very much like funny to me. And it's like, I don't have any like hard feelings towards the dude. You know, I just think in the moment he just wasn't like, I don't think he was thinking things through properly. I think he just made a he just said something dumb. But like it just blew my I'm like, how do we literally have this discussion about how mine's the nice room and not yours? And like at least I let my players finish my room while playing mean. You can still play mean. You're just not gonna get as much fucking gems. Like, what more do you want? And I'm like, it was so strange to me. But listen, everyone had fun with my games. That's all that I cared about. That was the only goal. That's all that mattered to me. But yeah, that one's less of a horror story. It's more of just a what the fuck, like why? Why do you think like that, sir? But yeah. What's the point of multiple endings when they all have the exact same rewards? I mean, it's I don't see any if you want to write a game like that, it's fine. It's just like sometimes I like having different stuff depending on what you do, you know what I mean? Um and like if some players might think that like it's cooler to do things one way or the other. And again, it's all about it's it's always been my thing where it's like I respect different play styles. I'm not going to understand all of it. Like I don't always understand why some people want to play D&D like strictly combat heavy. Like I don't personally, I'm like, why not just play a video game? But also, I don't have a problem if people want to play that way. It's not for me at all. But I think that people should respect each other's game styles. And I think that people shouldn't like tell people how to play their games if it's what they enjoy. So long, the only case where it ever matters how a DM plays their game or how anybody plays their game is if everyone they're playing with, if anyone they're playing with has issues with it. That's the only time when it matters. If you don't play with that person, if you don't like share a table with that person, it should not fucking matter to you how they do or don't play their game, no matter how strict they play to the rules or how freeform they are, how much they role play, how much they fight, whatever. Like, so that's always been my thing where it's like, I don't care how you play your game until you start having a problem with how I play mine. And the only people who have a right to like critique me or tell me that like I need to play differently are people who are at my table who have a problem with how I play. That's my own opinion about that. But uh so that's like it's just one of those things where it's like I don't care if that's how he wanted to play his game. I have no problems at the time that he wanted to run his game where it's like he punishes you for being nice. I think that could be a clever thing. I mean, imagine a situation where like you have a party of like good players who at this point have like solved all their problems without violence. And then like imagine you give them a challenge where like they're punished when they try to be nice. So now they have to learn how to navigate the situation without just befriending everything. Like that can be interesting and that can be really good. But it's like again, it's unfair for me to be accepting of that and then not have that same respect put back to me. Which again, I don't think at the time he really like I think he just said something stupid and he didn't think about it long enough. But yeah. So that's my story. uh Oh gosh, I'm getting to a point. It's 11:30 at night, and I probably want to do some other things. So, does anyone have any like last things they want to say or ask or whatever? Because I might end it soon. I've been streaming for hot minute. It seems about like an hour and a half at this point. So yeah, if anyone has any final thoughts or final questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace. I am drinking water. I got it right here. I am. Don't. I'm hydrating myself. Thou art hydrated. Uh, give your stream. Oh well, thank you. I need to do this some more. Just have some just chatting streams again. So I probably will have more, maybe more about like actual D&D stuff because that's what I am enjoying right now. That's my fixation. Um, but like maybe I'll have a stream at some point where I just recite my entire warlock campaign and just do an entire like recap of that. Um, which would be fun. Uh, also, so fun. Well, thank you. I know the beginning of that stream was very all over the place, and I apologize. But hopefully, the few people who see this will enjoy it for what it is. Um, I also apologize. This wasn't. This was kind of supposed to be a more like a. Well, I guess I did say this was just chatting, so I didn't. Never mind. I didn't break any promises. I didn't put Q&A in the title, so this was just talking about D&D. So it's all good. First stream of the Warlocks game. Well, thank you. Uh, that would be a trip. I would have to go off like some friends of mine's notes that they did uh, to remember everything that happened. Yeah, so I think I'll go ahead and end it there. I think so. Thank you all for coming, and hopefully I will try this again at some point where I stream my dumbass face at a horrible angle because I cannot stream from any other angle. So, um, but yeah, I will see you all then in the future, or I will maybe hopefully see you all on Tuesday when the first episode of my haunted house game goes up. Maybe, possibly. But yes, I will see you all later. Goodbye.